Hey guys, Preston here. Welcome back to another video. Welcome to the post-game show for the Steelers vs. Texans Week 3 matchup. It was incredibly stressful, but the boys got it done. The Sixburg Steelers are now 3-0. And the last time the Steelers were 3-0, it was 2010, and they made the Super Bowl. So it's love to make the Super Bowl again. So yeah, let's just get in this game a little bit. Like I mentioned before, very, very stressful. The first half was the worst by far. They kind of fixed a lot of mistakes they made in that second half. And in that first half, the Texans scored 21 and Pittsburgh had 17. So the offenses on both teams were firing on cylinders. But the defense was very concerning, to say the least, in that first half. The worst part of that was to end the half. The Texans drove like a half with 60 or 70-something yards in 50 seconds to score a touchdown right before halftime. So obviously there's a lot of concerns and panic amongst us Steelers fans, myself included, heading into halftime. But I will say they fixed it completely in the second half. They didn't allow a single point after halftime. They shut it down. Defense showed what they were made of. It responded to the pressure and held the team to 21 points. Real quick, stats-wise, so you can talk about some of this stuff. Offensively for Houston, this is a similar theme we've seen already in all three of our games. They passed well, and they ran horribly. Yet again, we held another team to very little running yards. We held the Texans to 29 total rushing yards. David Johnson, the lead back, went 13 carries for 23 yards, averaging 1.8 yards per carry. Not great. We shut the run down, but we got pieced up at times in this past game. We ran a lot of... I'm not big on the zone. We run a lot of zone defense, though. We always have. But every time we're getting picked apart by veteran quarterbacks. All you have to do, if you find a quarterback who knows what he's doing and can read his zone, we'll get picked apart. That's why Tom Brady was always piecing us up until the one game we won. We played a lot of man coverage that day. A lot. I remember even the commentators were talking about it that game. They're like, man, they're doing a lot of man. Sometimes man's important. They win a lot of zone. Mike Tomlin in his post-game press conference kind of said it's partially because they were worried about Watson's scrambling ability and didn't want a wide open middle of the field for him just to run in. So I guess maybe yet again in their mind it's another game plan of, oh, I guess we're gonna sacrifice our DBs yet again. If that's the case, I think they got burnt sometimes too. There was definitely a couple plays, Steven Nelson, it's been a little disappointing. All of them have been kind of disappointing except Mike Hilton. Even then, I think he got burnt once, maybe twice on coverage. But I will say this, even when the secondary is struggling, they still find a way to get a pick. They have back-to-back games with the secondary has interceptions now after it was the linebackers and defensive ends who did it in week 1. Big Ben had another solid game. He's not, I don't know if you call him a world beater. He's not like lighting it on fire, but he's getting very, very respectable numbers, and he's not turning the ball over. Today he was 23 of 36 for 237 yards and 2 touchdowns. He only averaged 6.6 yards per pass, so there wasn't a lot of deep balls. He almost connected on 2 or 3, but he was just off with some of these guys. He could have had one decent ball to Claypool, but I mean, the defensive back was really holding on to his arm, and the refs missed it. I don't want to get started on the referees, but they were garbage today. The Texans' offensive line held everyone all day, and they called nothing. I don't know if they called holding once on either team today, actually, so I guess they just chose to. They just said holding doesn't exist today. Penalty-wise, I will say Pittsburgh did a good job. Granted, like I said, these refs didn't call much anyways, but they did a pretty good job on not getting penalized this game, especially compared to last week when they had like 8 penalties that really kept the Broncos in that game. Watson had a pretty good day on us. Like I said, the pass game's been doing better against us than anywhere else, having 264 yards, averaging almost 10 yards per pass. He had some decent balls thrown today for 2 touchdowns and a pick. The pick was the bad one. Obviously, he was getting pressured heavy when he got that pick to Mike Hilton, who made a good play on the ball. But that's where the pressure was there, but he kind of was still able to make plays in spite of the pressure most of the game. But we were able to get home and get to him 5 times just to build on what I would presume to be the league lead in sacks. I mean, it almost has to be. We had 7. We had like 7 last week. We have 5 this week. I mean, we get sacks. We're getting more than over 3. I think we're getting more than 3 per game. So I would hope that we lead the league in sacks. He did have a good pass rating though of 110. Big Ben got sacked twice, which isn't bad. I mean, the Both times, though, the offensive line completely whiffed on whatever protection they were supposed to do, because both times the sacker just had a straight path to Big Ben. So they got to work on that, clean it up a little bit. Maybe the Castro's being his first game back, it threw off the rhythm a little bit or something, but hopefully they can figure that out. Running the ball, like I said, for the Texans, we shut them down completely. 29 yards rushing, that's all they got. Watson was not a factor scrambling at all. He had 1 carry for 5 yards, and that's it. But the Steelers, again, found some relative success running the ball this game, having 38 carries for 169 yards, averaging 4.4 carries, and having a touchdown between all the backs, respectively. Everyone really got, the 3 main backs got carries today, but this is actually the first game action we got to see from Anthony McFarland, who was certainly impressed, had 6 carries for 42 yards, which goes out to averaging 7 per carry. Pretty good, long of 20. Basically, when they gave him a good outside run and he got space, he was making a play of it. And the speed there is legit, and that's a fun back that once we're shown we can start utilizing him, so keep looking out for him. He's going to be a fun, nice change the pace guy. Yet again, James Conner has solidified himself as the bell cow for this running back room. If he can stay healthy, he is the guy with yet another 100-yard performance. Similar to last week, he put a decent amount of those yards also came towards the end of the game, but that's not a bad thing. That means we can finally close games out with the running game, which is something we could not do last year, which made our games even more stressful than this one was. So yeah, Connor finished with 18 carries for 109 yards, averaging 6.1 yards per carry. Granted, last week, his long run was like 65 that messed with the average. This time it was only 25, so a lot of those were just good runs. He was getting good runs, especially in the second half. Like I said, the whole team did better on the second half. The offense might have actually done better in the first half, but the defense did a lot better in the second, and the offense did enough to get the win, scoring 11 points in the second half with the Texans 0 to make sure we won 28-21. Technically, obviously, this is a thing you don't see unless you watch the game. If they were the nice guy because they had the ball on the Texans 1 yard line, and we could have punched in another touchdown to end the game and win 35-21. But we chose just to kneel it out, didn't do a field goal, didn't do a touchdown, nothing. But in my mind, you could technically almost say we won by 2 scores. I'm sure bettors were probably hoping that if they chose. Actually, I don't know what the line was, but maybe somewhere, maybe the over or something. But they did not. They chose to be nice and just kneel the clock out right on the goal line, right on the doorstep, to getting in another touchdown. So yeah, the running game was pretty solid. The passing game was spread out again, like always. There was 22 receptions for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day, I believe is what this is saying. Juju was the leading receiver with 4 receptions on 5 targets, so pretty good rate right there. And a touchdown for 43 yards. So, the touchdown wasn't 43 yards, but yeah, 43 yards and a touchdown. Not bad at all. The second leading receiver was a running back, and James Conner, who took the checkdowns when Ben couldn't find anyone open and actually made the most of them, having 4 receptions, going for 40 yards, so 10 yards per reception, with a long of 13. Ebron had his best day yet, still a little quiet, obviously not a murderer day, but 4 catches for 38 yards and a touchdown again, really showing his red zone threat. It was a beautiful back shoulder pass that Ebron was able to bring down. He had a drop today, which isn't great. You never want to see that. But 4 catches on the 6 targets, and I think most of those misses, the first miss was kind of Ben just trying to get in rhythm with him again. Then you got Vance McDonald. So both tight ends were used today. Vance, the Vanimal, had 3 receptions for 35 yards. I think most of those are actually in those last 2 drives, but he made the most of his opportunities. And Chase Claypool, a little unfortunate with his targets today, but he did get 1 catch for 24 yards, which was a nice play by him. We almost had a really bad thing because Claypool's the one who got it down to the goal line to seal the game, but the ball got punched out, but luckily it rolled out at the 1 instead of rolling out to the end zone, or the defense would have had to step up again and stop that Texans offense. But unfortunately, he had 4 targets, and so 3 of those balls just did not work out. One of them, like I mentioned, there's 2 of them, though, that weren't really catchable. Ben chucked one at him on a weird 4th down play, but the Texans defensive back was all over Claypool to make sure he couldn't get near the ball, so that was a pass interference, not his fault. And another one was a holding that they missed. Claypool only had 1 arm to work with because his other one was literally being held by the defensive back. I don't know how the freaking refs missed that. They're horrible. The referees have been worse than anything. They're rusty too, apparently. But Claypool even almost came down with that one. He bobbled it like 5 times. It would have been amazing if he caught it. But hey, stuff happens. Didn't get it. Not his day. 24 yards still isn't bad and adds to his total. The rookie, Anthony McFarland, also had a catch for 7 yards. So Johnson, relatively uneventful game. I think he got taken out of the game pretty early with an unfortunate concussion, going for 0 catches on 2 targets. I don't exactly remember those targets, so I'm not sure if they were his fault, Ben's fault, or somewhere in the middle. Claypool Johnson has a concussion, it looks like, so I don't know how long he'll be out. Hopefully he can be ready by next game, but he might miss a game or even 2 if it's real bad. Turnover-wise, technically Claypool fumbled, but we did not lose a turnover, which breaks a streak of the Steelers' offense. They turned it over to the other team, I believe, in like 26 straight games or something, and we didn't do it today, and we got the win. We broke a bad streak and got a very good play and kept our good streaks alive of getting a sack for it's like 30 or 40 something straight games in a row. And I would imagine that keeps continuing for a while, hopefully. I said that Claypool had that fumble, but it went out of bounds, and there's no turnovers by us. We won the turnover battle with our interception. Tackle-wise, just to show that the Texans were throwing the ball a lot. Our leading tacklers were Mike Hilton and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minka's been quiet still. 5 tackles, but no other stats, not even a pass defended. Hilton didn't get a sack this game, but he did get a tackle for loss. 8 tackles, obviously, in the pass defended, plus the pick, which is huge. TJ Watt won the Watt brother battle. I mean, he did the best of all the Watts because, unfortunately, Derek Watt has a hamstring injury, so he might miss a couple weeks, which sucks. I mean, he really helps the run game. But I guess we decided not to really utilize him that much anyways, so who knows. Edmonds had 4 tackles. I didn't see Edmonds get burnt as much today. I was kind of impressed. He didn't do bad. I saw, unfortunately, more guys. I saw Nelson, and I couldn't remember. I was just mad. They're getting dotted up in zone, though. So, that's kind of hard to blame. I don't know who to blame for certain times with the zone. I'm not an expert on it. I just know they're in their zone, and they're getting picked apart from the soft spots in those zones. I'm trying to see if there's anything else interesting. Marcus Allen had some playing time because he ended up with 2 tackles. Vince Williams had himself a day again, getting a sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a quarterback hit. It's beautiful. Devin Bush ended up with a half a sack and a tackle for loss, along with the pass defended. Stephon Tuitt got his first, not his first sack. It might be his second sack of the season, but he got a sack today, which obviously also means a tackle for a loss. He had 4 QB hits, so he was getting pressure today. He did good. He's a little quiet recently, been flying under the radar, but it's because there's 4 beasts there. Obviously, you're going to be a little quiet. Hayward was the most quiet today. He didn't register any QB hits, tackles for loss, or sacks, but, I mean, he was there. Sometimes you just got to eat up blocks, and maybe that's what he was doing today. Let's see, what else do we got? Joe Hayden had a pass deflection, but, like I said, the secondary wasn't real great today. Bud Dupree, kind of even realized, but he finished with a sack and a half and 2 quarterback hits to continue his reign of terror that he's been on. Alu had a pass defended, but didn't register any QB hits or sacks today. Alex Highsmith had a tackle for loss on a good play, good run-stopping play. And Wormley had a limited action, but had a tackle. Defensively for Houston, Bernard McKinley ate us. The linebackers both had a lot of tackles, which means it looks like we're doing a lot of intermediate plays with the Steelers team. So 11 tackles for McKinley, 10 tackles for Cunningham. Did they have any interceptions? But they had a sack from Carlos Watkins and a sack from Charles Omenihu. Both of them were unblocked, like I said. They shut down the man, J.J. Watt. He had 4 tackles, but no tackles for loss, no QB hits, and no sacks. Chukwuma Okorafor, the right tackle who took over for Zach Banner, had himself a day. This Steelers offensive line is going to be just fine and has a bright future with Chucks being young, being able to play that tackle spot long term, and the rookie Kevin Dotson, who didn't play today because the Castro's back, but Reggie gave up no pressures against Jarrell Casey in week 2, just shows that we still get a bright future ahead for this offensive line that will have to rebuild eventually, since 3 of the guys are over 30 years old. And that's, I mean, interception-wise, like I said, Mike Hilton had the pick, did great for us. Ray McLeod still doing good with kick returns, averaging 23.5. He also took punts today with Deontay being out and did a pretty good job. I'd like to see him maybe stay on the punt team, just because when Deontay was out there the one time, He made another mental error. The special teams play of Deontay Johnson has not been great. When he gets the ball, he's electric, but he fumbles, and then he made the mistake of calling for a fair catch on the 4-yard line when it would have just bounced into the end zone and been a touchback. Bad mistake there by him. Really backed us up that drive. But overall, not bad. Colquitt averaged 44.3 yards per punt, so not bad, but I did think he had one or two pretty not great punts. Looked a little Jordan Berry-esque, so hopefully he can get going a little bit. Boswell made both field goals and both extra points, as we know him to be fairly reliable, and he did his job. So overall, a good win, a good team win. Like I said, I was very disappointed in that defense in the first half, especially that 50-second scoring drive was just kind of ridiculous, kind of unacceptable. Very angry, but they figured it out. They made the right adjustments, which is great to see. You want to see your coaches and players be able to do that. And they shut Houston out in the second half, which was the factor in our win here. The offense struggled a little bit, especially in that third quarter, but got just enough going in that fourth to be able to get 11 points total in that half. And we walk away with a 28-21 win, and we are 3-0, baby. And I love to see it. I'm trying to think. I don't know who we play next. I'm gonna look that up real quick. I don't want Steelers versus Texans. I'll give you my players of the game too after I look up who we're playing next. Oh, okay. So we have a tough matchup next week against the Tennessee Titans at 1 o'clock. Should be a fun one. They're another team where, like I said, every team we've played so far, we've relatively held their run in check. The Titans will probably be our toughest test of all to stop the run, we shut down Saquon Barkley, right, which was awesome, but he also had a bad offensive line. This Titans offensive line is definitely better than the Giants offensive line, and Derrick Henry is no slouch, so it's going to be a tough task to shut him down. The Titans kicked a lot of field goals today, and the Vikings kind of had a recipe to relatively limit them. I think they still got away with the win, though, so that'll be our toughest game of the year so far. 4-0 would be amazing, but that one's definitely a tough matchup, a tough ask. We'll see how we do. But players of the game on offense, I'm going to have to go with, it's a tough one. I'm probably going to say James Conner. Like I said, this offense really didn't flash or impress me that much today. Big Ben, it might be worth it just for the fact he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't make any really dumb plays, and he did a very solid job getting 2 touchdowns again. But I'm going to go James Conner. Another 100-yard rushing performance. Really helped seal this game for us in that 4th down with great running plays. Ended up averaging 6 yards a carry, and he stayed healthy. It's great to see him back and doing what he does. You love to see it. Good performance all around. Shout out to the rookie Anthony McFarland, who had a good game today. And Chucks is obviously maybe a notable mention. I would never normally give my player of the game to an offensive lineman, but Chucks shut down J.J. Watt and made sure TJ won the Watt battle. But that was great to see from Chucks. Defensively for us, I think you could go Mike Hilton pretty easy. I mean, he led the team in tackles with 8, had a tackle for a loss, and had the only turnover on the game, which was a huge momentum scene for us and got us the win. So shout out to Mike Hilton. Obviously, Bud Dupree's a good honorable mention there with 1.5 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Vince Williams. Vince Williams had a day too when it came to the run stopping. So the Watt, TJ and Bud and Hilton, all of them were good. I'll probably go Hilton if I had to pick one though. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for my preview video for the Tennessee Titans game. I'm gonna get deeper into it than what I just said. Give my predictions, see what the Steelers would have to do to beat a pretty solid Tennessee Titan team. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about this game in the comments below. If you were stressed out the whole time like me, these Steelers games are always a roller coaster of emotions, man. But anyways, this is K-May Preston signing out. Go Steelers.